Philippians chapter 1, verse 6, being confident of this very thing, that he which had begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. You believe saying that God started a work in you? You believe, Tay, that God started a work in you? You believe, Jackie, God started a work in you? Kenny, you believe God started something in you? Really? You think that God started something and then saying he just say, that's enough, I'm done with you? That's not the God that we serve. For one, ask God to have a blessing to the readers, the hearers, and the faithful doers of his word. Because the issue we got is not that God ain't working. The issue we got is we won't let that man work. Yeah, I wanna throw this subject out at you. Let that man work. Yeah, somebody already got the revelations. Let that man, whatever he want to do, whatever he need to do, whatever happening with my children, whatever happening with my family, whatever happening, I might not understand all of it, but I'm going to back up and I'm going to let that man. I'm going to let him work. And that's what we've got to get into our spirit as we honor Black history. I'll say a few things about our history, and then I want to get into the meat of the message. We're not just celebrating Black moments and Black achievements. We're honoring a people who believed God was working when progress was slow. We're honoring a people who believed God was working when freedom looked like it was delayed. When the outcome wasn't obvious. We honor them for their perseverance. We honor them for the life that God allowed them to live to make progress, watch this, for us. My grandmama and them went through some stuff I didn't have to go through. Right? My mom and them went through some stuff I didn't have to. My aunties, my youngest aunt and my other aunt, they're here. They did some stuff and lived some lives and went through some changes that I didn't have to go through. God allowed them to manage those things that wasn't for my lifetime. In my adult life, I was a little bit more privileged. I didn't necessarily have to boil water. We didn't have to use the oven as a heater. We didn't have to hang our clothes out on the clothesline. But I remember my mama kind of hanging clothes out on the clothesline. Our dough in the house was a dryer. Clothes just laying over everything, over the dough, right? And back then, Joyce, Mama and them, we didn't have these little fancy metal things we got in the sink now, Dre. You just pull that little knob up and that thing's supposed to stop the water. Mom and them got an old rag and just stuffed it down in that little drain plug. And what was interesting is that water did not move. That little metal thing in my sink right now in my house, in my bathroom, that water will not stay in there. I'm telling you, God is remarkable that God can take a towel that's supposed to absorb water and stop the water from moving. But this metal thing you stick down in there and the water won't hold. If that ain't a God who can make a way. Yeah, that's how God worked. We don't really appreciate how God worked because we're so privileged now, Tay. Yeah, Tay, you ain't got to worry about you got a bathroom in the house that won't keep it clean. These folks had to use the bathroom outdoors. Yeah, they didn't have all the stuff we got. You can go now, Joyce, your hair always looks so pretty, but Mama and them had to get that straightened and combed, and I remember they'd be walking through. I used to smell burnt hair. What is going on? Y'all burning up some stuff. They had that straightening comb, and they just be straightening that old hair, and they be doing all that. And then they get that perm and that relax. Don't scratch because it's going to burn. Don't scratch because it's going to burn. They be getting that relaxing stuff on their head. They went through some things, and nowadays we can go pay for a $300 hair weave. Y'all sit here with me with $300 hairdos and complain about 10%. We so privileged now. But when we look at progress, Is that what our ancestors fought for us to be so vain? To act like we don't have no sense of history, to walk around as if our parents didn't do nothing to help us be where we are. That our ancestors didn't do nothing, like we the bomb now because we got an education. Because we smarter now, we got more technology. And what's interesting, we got all this technology and still act dumb. That's messed up. Mama and them didn't have half the stuff we got, but I tell you, they didn't worry about being sick. They weren't tripping about having no cold. They weren't really tripping about all of the little stuff that we worried about. Lights get cut off, they'll just light some candles and wouldn't even worry about it. Stuff started happening, they'll just say, well, the Lord gonna make a way. They'll just start trusting in God. But we got all this technology, got smartphones, got all kinds of stuff, and we just don't have no strength. You know why? Because we won't let that man do his work. We complain against his work. We talk against his work. Our ancestors let him work because they didn't have no choice but to trust in God. We done got too much convenience, and it's done messed up our trust because we got too much dependence on stuff that God provided until it's almost replaced our trust in him. Paul is in prison, writing this letter to the church. He's restricted, Bruce. He's not even sure how stuff going to turn out. He in chains. Sound like somebody who understands our history, don't he? Understand what it's like to be in chains, restricted, uncertain about a future. But our people learn how to trust God in places where we, at now in our life, we don't know how to trust God in those same places. We panic where they were praying. We act like God can't where they know God can. And so Paul is in jail, and these people that he had been teaching, these people that he had been leading, they were a little bit concerned because Paul was no longer there with them, and they were wondering if the spiritual progress they had been making was over. Y'all, I want to say something, because the hardest place to trust God is a place where nothing seems to be changing. But the text teaches us something. The Philippians were worried because their leader was locked up. And because their leader was locked up, their future felt uncertain. They wondered if that spiritual work had been stalled. And I want to say something, because a lot of us need to get this. We need to understand how important it is that God's people ought to desire spiritual development. And if something happens to delay or stall your spiritual development, you ought to have some concern. When the snow hit the ground, you ought not be like, oh, we got 3 Sundays off. You ought to be trying to figure out, man, I wonder how we going to get the word. I wonder how I'm going to get spiritual development. But we don't know how to appreciate what God is doing. And anytime we get a little reprieve from God, we take it like it's time to go on vacation. But in the text, these Philippians, Mama Annie, they said, where Paul at? He in jail. All that spiritual work he was doing on us, it's done stalled. We were learning about God. We were learning about faith. It was feeling good to our spirit. We were learning some things. I was learning how to get a breakthrough tape. I was learning how to get deliverance. Saying I was learning how to deal with hard times. Auntie Lula, I was learning how to deal with bad sickness. I was learning some stuff about how God works. I was learning how God moves, Sister Calhoun. I was learning how God provides. And now it looked like everything is stalled. So for us, we ought to desire being better Christians. And we ought to want God to keep working on, and I need to say this, because when life gets heavy, you're going to need God. when times get tough, you're going to need God. Your hair ain't going to be able to help you through it. Your smartphone ain't smart enough to help you through some of the stuff you're going to have to deal with. You're going to need God. You can't make it without him. And I need you to know that despite all of the things that these people felt in their heart, Paul began to share something profound with them. He established confidence. He wanted them to know that when progress feels slow and when promises feel distant, God is still working. Because God consistently takes measures to keep his people informed. What's profound about this, Paul said, I'm confident. He said, I want you all to be confident. I want you all to be assured that God's work does not slow down because I'm in chains. Y'all gonna catch up in a minute. That I want y'all to know that God's work does not stop in you because circumstances get tough. God's work doesn't pause because your season gets painful. God's work doesn't stop because you're going through a hard time. As a matter of fact, I need you to know something. If you're going through a hard time, God's still working. If God started it, Miss Loretta, please help me. He's still working it. The issue is not whether God is faithful. The issue is whether we'll let him keep working. If chains can't stop Paul, if the cross can't stop Jesus, y'all gonna get it in a minute, can't nothing stop what God started in you. Jackie, everything God got for Jacqueline Smith is going to come to pass. And I don't care, Aisha, what try to get in between your start and your finish. If God started it, whatever he started in you, Aisha, he got to finish it because he don't know no other way. Because AJ, he said, this is what I'm starting in AJ. So just because sin come up, just because drama come up, just because junk come up, just because trials come up, Jesus said, I still got a promise on your life. And whatever I purpose for AJ, it shall come to pass. The issue is, are you going to let God work? That's the issue. The issue is not that God don't want to keep working. It's not that God don't want to keep leading you. It's not that God don't want to carry you everywhere he carry you. It's not that God, Vic, don't want you to be everything that he promised you're going to be. I need you to understand this, Tay. Everything you seen in vision don't mean God going to give it to you right away. Sometimes you got to go through some stuff that might look like God ain't going to do it. But CJ, I want you to hear me when I say, if God promised it over your life, y'all ain't saying nothing. Can't nobody stop what God promised over your life. Because you just got to, angel, let him work. First, Tay, we got to let that man work in us. Paul says, God has already begun a good work in you. So he says good work. He ain't talking about church activity. He ain't talking about ministry assignments. He's talking about spiritual alignment. I've already started on your salvation. That's what you need to get to heaven. I've already started by saving you. I've already started by giving you a measure of faith to trust me. I've been working on your salvation. And what you need to understand is that I'm not just working in you because of your salvation. I'm sanctifying and reshaping you for some of your desires. Because there's some things I promised you that I got to give you, but I also love you enough to let you desire some things. But in order for your desires just to come to pass, you got to let the work I'm doing in you for your salvation still be the work I do in you for your desires. So the issue we got is that God is sanctifying us and he's correcting us and we don't like correction. God gonna have to help me. God said, I'm going to work in you, and while I'm working in you, I got to correct everything that don't look like Jesus. I got to work in you so that I can get you to the place where you reflect who I am, and I need you to always represent me, and so you got to let me work in you so that I can change your heart, so that I can make sure that every time the enemy try to pressure you, that I've given you enough of me to resist every attack of the enemy. And so what God started in us, it don't stop because trouble come. It still got to manifest because God not just modifying your behavior, he's transforming your entire nature. And so God not just trying to stop you from doing bad behavior, he's trying to shift your whole character. That everything ain't about just stop doing this. I'm glad you stopped doing this, but I want to see if your nature doesn't change. I want to see if your character doesn't change. Yeah, we'll give you a few brownie points because you don't drink, but what you doing something. So I want to shift your character. A lot of us want to get brownie points for not doing a certain thing, but our character ain't changed. And so he got to transform our nature. He's not dealing just with what you do. He's dealing with why you choose to do it. There are some things that'll make you get a little upset with me, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because my adjutant's here. There's some stuff that ain't going to manifest in your life until you let God finish working in you. You're going to keep praying for it. You're going to keep asking for it. You're going to keep getting frustrated because ain't nothing changed. God said there's some stuff I'm not going to let manifest until you let me finish working in you. You pray for open doors, God said, I'm adjusting your character. You ask for elevation, God said, I'm still refining your motives. You ask for increase, God said, I'm still renewing your mind. That's why before God elevates you publicly, he must align you privately. Y'all gonna get it in a minute because his work in you will advance you. God said, I can't give you some stuff because you're gonna be too arrogant. You ain't gonna treat it right. You ain't gonna treat folks right. You're gonna act like you ain't need me. You're gonna walk around here exalted like you doing it all yourself. But if you let me work in you, it'll ground you. It'll establish you. So let that man work. Not only must we let that man work in us, but we also must let that man work on us. In the text, Paul says, he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it. The word perform means God is carrying the work forward, making it visible on you so that you can reach completion. And so Paul says that God will perform the work. He's telling us that the process is still active. And his work on us is not passive. This isn't God starting something and stepping back. This is God staying engaged, y'all gonna have to like this, with the ongoing process. So he's letting us know, watch this, that the work involves my process. Despite pressure, there'll still be divine progression. Because my performance is greater than what the pressure put on you. And so since I'm performing, I outperform the problem. So therefore, my performance is helpful on your life because it protects you from becoming something you can't contain. You think you want all this stuff? You think you're ready to carry all this stuff? But God knows that ready blessings in unready hands can damage what hasn't been developed. If God blesses us with what hasn't been corrected, it can destroy what he's trying to establish. Because we become a bad example. We become a bad reflection of who Christ really is. We bring dishonor to his name. That's why you see folks doing stuff in the name of Jesus and you're trying to figure out, I can't tell. Because you're bringing shame to his name. You're doing stuff in his name that don't reflect his nature. You shout his name, but you don't reflect his identity. That's how come God got to start touching habits that don't match the work he started. God got to start confronting attitudes that can't survive the calling that he's shaping. This correction ain't personal. It's all God's performance. When God starts working on you, it's not always because something went wrong. It's because something is being made right. So our ancestors, when we think about black history, they understood this. God wasn't punishing them. That was their journey. He was preparing them to live beyond the change, despite the fact that they had to endure the change. That even, watch this, if they couldn't live to see where we are now, the work God performed on them helped them reflect who God was enough to inspire the next generation. If they let God work in the setting that they were in, chains, out in the cotton field, slave masters couldn't do what they wanted to do. If they let that man work in their generation, surely we ought to be able to let that man work on us. So the issue you got is you trying to fight the process. Because God's trying to help you. You can't contain everything God trying to do for you. That's why he got to get you ready for this next level. Don't fight the process. Don't reject correction. Somebody say, correct me, Lord. If it'll save me from hell, correct me. If it'll help me reach my next blessing, correct me. If it'll shift me from danger, correct me. If it'll help heal me, correct me. If it'll help deliver my child, correct me. If it'll help shape my son, correct me. God, if I'm tied to something that's damaging my family, correct me. If I'm tied to something that's damaging somebody else, correct me. If I'm the one messing up my breakthrough, correct me. If I'm the one messing up what you got for me, correct me. See, y'all don't say that, but if I say bless me, y'all will be hollering bless me. But when I say holler correct me, ain't nobody saying nothing. And that gives me evidence, Dre, that we won't let that man work. I got proof that we don't want to let that man work. Y'all gave me evidence. You don't want to let that man work. You want the blessing, but you don't want to let him work on you to get it. You want the favor, you want the grace, you want the flourishing, but you don't want the correction. I need about 5 of y'all who ready for what God about to do next to say, wait just a minute. I don't want to just be floating around through life. If I'm not in line with what you need me to be for my next wave of blessing, slow me down enough for me to say, correct me, work on me, shift me, use me, deliver me, snatch me away from it, get it away from me, change my mind, change my thought, change my process, change my progress, change what I feel, change what I think, change this relationship, get me away from it, get me away from her, let me shift, correct me, correct me. Be careful when you say correct me, because you're going to feel something going to start shifting. You're going to have to put some stuff down. You're going to have to put some feelings away. When you say correct me, God says let me work on you. Be seated. Finally, not only must we let that man work in us and on us, but we also got to let that man work for us. This is the part where Paul says God will perform the work until the day of Jesus Christ. Until the day of Jesus Christ means God is shaping your life until the end comes that relates to what you're going to be. That means that he's doing what's necessary with the end in mind for your perfected status. Not that when you die, but when you come to the place where all things are now correct and that God is now able to work on your behalf. And so now God wants you to understand 2 critical things about until the day of Jesus Christ. It tells us that the work has a destination and God controls the timeline. That day represents completion. That day represents the moment when God started something and it finally reaches completion. Aisha, that day is when what God started in you finally looks like what he intended. So Tay, he gonna keep working until you look like his intent. I'll say it like I feel it. Bruce, he gonna keep working. And what you don't realize, Bruce, is that he working for you. I'll show you. I'll show you. Because when God don't react to your present, he's preparing you for your future because it's already decided. So whatever you messing up in, God don't worry about it because he's working for you. Because the enemy think you're violating what you're going to have. But God says, I'm working for you in such a way that I know for a fact that whatever I started, you're going to be it. Whatever I started, you're going to have it. But you got to let me work for you. You got to let me do some things that I need to do. And so you got to let me have my way in your life because you don't see the completion. All you see is what you see. But don't get distracted by what you see because I don't react to where you are. I keep responding to where you're going. Everything I do is because of where you're headed. It's not because of where you are. I've already done enough, Dre, to get you where you are. And so I'm no longer concerned about where you are. I'm working now for where you're going. I wish I had somebody in here who understand that God don't see completion, and if God don't see completion, don't you worry about where God is. God's still working. You just got to let him work. You got to understand that he ain't stopped doing what he doing. You just don't like the manifestation of your presence. And so these people in the text, they really were concerned, but Paul said, don't worry about it. Whatever God started, he's going to work in you. He's going to work on you. And just know that he's working for you. You see, here's the issue. You always think something bad is happening to you, when in fact, God could be doing something for you. Everything God doing in your life is aligning you with where he's taking you. Some of you are going through what may seem unnecessary based on where you are, but it's necessary based on where you're going. That's what you have to understand. You keep reacting, Joyce, to the present. You think this is about right now. But this ain't about right now, Tay. This is about where I'm trying to take you. And so whatever I'm doing now, don't you get it confused as if I'm really concerned about now. I ain't even worried about now more than I'm worried about getting you ready for where I'm taking you. And so what I'm doing is necessary for where you're going. And so you might not always like how God moves, but he's working for your good. You won't always agree with how he reroutes you, how he restructures you, how he reimagines what you thought you imagined. Talk your talk, Bishop. How he's working things out for you in a way that you didn't see because you didn't sense that you needed it. But when God started aligning stuff, y'all not gonna like this, he started aligning the right relationships. He started closing doors on some stuff. He started opening new doors on other stuff. He started redirecting your path. You be trying to figure out why she don't want you no more. It ain't because of you, it's because of God. Y'all gonna catch up in a minute, because God said, I'm cutting certain folks out your life. And you're around here whining on who I let go from you instead of understanding that job ain't what I got for you. That career ain't what I got for you. I ain't trying to withhold nothing from you. Don't think that I took the job from you. Just know that I had to end it because I need to get you where I need you to be. And so I need about 5 of you to open your mouth and say, now I understand. I got a better picture now of what God might be doing. If God could work in people who were chained, if God could work on people who were wounded, if God could work for people who were oppressed and denied justice, then surely he can work in us, he can work on us, and he can work for us. Do me a favor and look around the room and say, God working in you. Say, God working on you. And say, God working for you. I need about 5 of you to throw your hands at me and say, let that man work. Whatever he want to do, let that man work. If he got to shift some stuff, let that man work. If he got to remove me from some stuff, let that man work. I need about 5 of you to go ahead on and get ready to give God the glory for where he's taking you now, because because you've been worried about something that you ain't got no business. You've been worried about because you thought that it was something for your bad. But I stopped by to tell you, you got to let that man, you got to let him work. I stopped by to tell somebody here, whatever God doing, he's working for your good. Just let that man work. He got a master plan, and you may not understand it, but just let that man work. You trying to figure out why it's taking so long, but just let that man work. You trying to understand why the process might feel so hard, but just let that man work. Angel, you trying to understand what the doctor's saying, baby, but just let that man work. Whatever God gonna do, he already got it. Whatever God gonna release, he already got it. Whatever God gonna heal, he already got it. The breakthrough God got, it's already yours. The deliverance God got, it's already yours. I got a blessing lined up for you. I'm getting ready to announce that you ain't seen what God getting ready to release. I'm getting ready to announce that there's a shift in developing in your atmosphere, and you don't even know everything God doing. But my announcement is simple: step back and let that man work. Would y'all do me a favor and say, I'm gonna let God be God. Whatever he got for me, however he wanna bless me, somebody say it's all right with me. I ain't finna worry y'all too long. I gotta get out of here. But he been working in you. He been working on you. And the good news, Joyce, is that he been working for you. Can you see that you could have been gone? Can't you see that things could have been worse? Can't you see that it could have been another way? But ain't you glad that God been working for you? When the enemy had come in like a flood, it was the Spirit of the Lord that built up a standard against it. Somebody look up and say, thank you, Jesus, for working for me. If you look back over your life, you'll see that God been good all the while. If you look back over our history, you'll see a God who never stopped working. He worked for my mama. He worked for my dad. He worked for my grandmama and them when they were out there in the field. He worked for your father when he was out there doing the best he could. He worked for the people who was out there in the struggle. He worked for our leaders who was out there in the movement. And the same God who worked for them is the same God who working for you. And I don't know how you feel about it, but just when you don't think he working, just look back over your life and see how far the Lord done brought you from. And I want you to explain to me, when you were broke and didn't have no money, how do you think you made it? I want you to explain to me, when the doctors didn't know what to tell you, how are you healed today? I want you to try to explain to me how God took you where you were when you didn't have no sense to try to figure out what you should do, how he rearranged, how he restructured, how he renewed, how he restored. I want you to explain to me that if it had not been for the Lord who was on our side, tell me where would we be? So that let me know that down through the years, church, God been working. I can see it based on your healing. I can see it based on your prosperity. Some of y'all look better than what you've been through. Some of y'all have overcome a whole lot of hills and mountains. Some of y'all act brand new, but you remember when you weren't making six figures. You remember when you were making a little money. You remember when you were barely making it. But ain't you glad that God was working on you? And now you can look at your life and say, thank you, Jesus, because I see your work. He's been answering your prayers. He's been opening up doors for you just because he's been working. He's been easing your burden. I'm talking about behind the scenes when you didn't even know how difficult it was. He made you feel better than it really was because he was always working. When you look at your children and you think that they bad, you got to look at it another way. There's somebody's child who's worse off than yours because God been working. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. You may not understand it, but God working right now. You may not sense it, but God working right now. He working on your future. He working on your blessing. He working on your increase. He working on your favor. He working on a miracle, and it's got your name on it. All you gotta do now is let that man work. He died, but he didn't stay dead. Early on the third day morning, he rose with all power. He got the power to work it all out. Somebody do me a favor and say, work it out, God. Work it out, God. Let that man work. He gonna do it for you. Let that man work. Take your hands off the problem and let that man work. Take your mind off the issue and let that man work. You stop trying to figure it out and let that man work it out. He got it. He got it. He got it. He got it. I said, God already got it. Somebody said, work it, God. I like it. Somebody said, work it, God. Would you do me a favor? You ain't got to do it long. But would you just begin to say, God, work whatever you need to work. Work. I want you to let it manifest in your spirit. God, work in me. God, work on me. God, work for me. Whatever you got to do, God. Now begin to just let that work. Let that work, God. God, work it. 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 I give it to you. I release it to you. Work it. Work this marriage, God. Work this finance. Work this situation, God. Work this burden out. Work this issue out. Work this thing out, God. You work. I'm going to let you work. If I've been in the way, I'm sorry. If I've been interrupting your process, I'm sorry. But whatever you started, I know you're going to finish it. And so I'm getting ready to let that man work. Somebody shout out loud, I'm letting them work. Come on, have your way, God. Come on, I show some of y'all to help me. Come on, say, let that man work. Come on, say, I'm letting them work. I'm letting them work.